Robert, we first started off with the last candidate, just have them tell a little bit about yourself, and then we open it up for questions. So if you just want to tell us a little bit.
Okay, I am Captain Robert Falldorf. I'm with the working currently with the Grand Island Police Department, and my current duties are the patrol captain. I've been with the Grand Island Police Department for approximately 30 years, and I've had the opportunity to work in all three divisions within the Grand Island Police Department. That'd be the administrative division, the patrol division, and the criminal division. And in the criminal division, I was actually a supervisory sergeant, and I served in that role for about 7 years. And as captain in the patrol division and captain in the administrative division, I served for approximately 7 years in each of those slots. So I'm, like I said, currently assigned to the patrol division within the police department. Roughly, I supervise 10 sergeants right now, and about 75% of the workforce of the Grand Island Police Department, the sworn personnel, are within my supervision or under my supervision.
From Grand Island, been in Central Nebraska practically all your life. How important, or what does this position mean to you?
Well, early on in my career, I made the decision that I wanted to progress through the Grand Island Police Department, and probably within the first 10 years of my employment, I decided that I was going to go and seek a master's degree. I chose public administration. I thought that was probably a little more well-suited for a management position within the police department. So like I said, I made the decision back then that I was going to apply for the chief of police position someday, and obviously that day has come upon us. And so I kind of just geared my education, my work performance, try to get as much experience as I could in the various divisions of the police department to fit right in line with being the director of the Grand Island Police Department.
What about Grand Island appealed to you at that time? Why did you want to make that decision to stick around and go through the ranks?
Well, I was a lifelong member or lifelong resident of Grand Island. Actually, my ancestors came here back in the 1870s, and we never left the area. So I've got a family here. My family loves the community. My wife has a professional career within the community, and we just love the community. I could have easily gone elsewhere with my degree, but I made the decision that the Grand Island Police Department was the department that I wanted to eventually be the chief of police for. So that's why I essentially made the decision that I was going to rise up through the ranks of this department and stay with this agency.
What have you seen with this department? How have you seen it grow? How have you seen it change?
Yeah, we've obviously over 30 years you see a lot of different changes and a lot of different growth. Probably some of the biggest changes within our agency have happened over the last 5 to 6 years. We've had the ICMA study, which was done essentially in 2011 and 2012. We knew that there were some community issues that needed to be addressed, and obviously the consultants, even though they said we were a highly trained police department and a very well managed police department, that there was issues within the community, and we knew that our crime rate was way too high, and we knew we had to do something to address that. And the consultants in the ICMA study gave us some benchmarks that we needed to try to address, and we did to the best of our ability to meet every one of those benchmarks, and it's really been successful. Part of what we have done is we are moving more towards community policing is still important, but we're moving towards intelligence-led policing. We've actually hired a crime analyst recently. We've kind of invigorated our crime prevention unit. We've added a cybercrime investigator, and that seems to be kind of the wave of the future. So we're going to have to, in the future, look at data and how it drives crime, and try to put together what we call special operations to address the criminal element in our community.
What are some changes that you'd like to see done in your time?
Well, if you asked me that 5 years ago, I would have probably a long laundry list of answers. But we've made a lot of changes over the last 5 years, and we're an organization, and obviously we're still going to change, not just for change's sake, but it's important that an organization continue to change. We do have some internal issues within the agency. We need to improve on communication, how divisions work amongst one another, and that's not really a slam on the current administration, because we have a fine administration right now. There's always areas we can improve on. Outside of the agency, obviously you have some initiatives going on, the Grow Grand Island and the Journey 2040. Some of those initiatives will be near and dear to the Grand Island Police Department. Those are initiatives that even though it's a citywide collaboration, but it'll be the police department's responsibility to be, thoroughly involved in those initiatives, because there will be some benchmarks set there and some things they want to accomplish there that the police department will need to be involved in, and obviously on some of the committees, serving on some of those committees.
As far as some of the issues, some of the crimes that you deal with in the Grand Island Police Department, what are some of the major ones that you would like to maybe get a better handle of if you should become chief of police?
Well, we always have to consider about the crime rate, and with the ICMA study and what we put into effect there with our operations and the special operations we put into place, we've addressed the crime, and the crime has gone down quite a bit due to our efforts there, but we still have to be concerned about crime rate. We don't want it to creep back up, and so we have to continue to look at operations to address crime rate issues. There's some social things within the community that we need to make sure we keep abreast of as well. So things like homelessness, mental illness, things like that we really need to keep on the forefront of. Try to get ahead of the issues, try to get ahead of the problems before they continue to get worse.
Captain, what do you think your strengths are?
Well, my strengths would be that I know the culture of the department. I feel that I'm well respected within the agency. I'm not afraid to go out and find out what the issues are within the community. It's my intent to continue to foster the collaboration and the setting meetings up with community leaders, even immigrant leaders that come within the community, where there's always issues addressed with that, and we want to make sure that we know what their problems are or their issues are, so we can address the entire community. So that's probably my biggest strength, is that I know the culture. If we were a dysfunctional agency, that might be a bad thing, but we're an agency that stays ahead of the ballgame. So, and that's what I will continue to do. Chief Lampkin's been a great chief. He's been a great mentor, and I appreciate that. I'll probably just follow within his footsteps. I probably won't do things exactly like he has done, but he's kind of set the path or set the way for me in mentoring me and mentoring our department. And I'll continue to be aggressive on the issues that face the community and be involved in that.
As far as your style, maybe a police chief that you envision yourself as, give us kind of maybe an idea of that.
Sure. My leadership style, I would probably describe it as shared leadership, and not saying that chain of command is not important. Chain of command in any police organization is important, but I need to make sure that leadership is shared at every level. So that means the officer on the street needs to be empowered to make the right decisions and know what decisions to make. And their supervisor needs to be empowered to handle the officers that are underneath them. And if there's an issue with an officer, it needs to be handled or addressed by their supervisor. All problems can't come to the police chief within an organization. So that's where you get the shared leadership. It's just empowering individuals within your organizations to do the right thing.
For better or for worse, has social media changed the game on how police officers go about their jobs?
I mentioned earlier that we had initiated or added on the cybercrime investigator, and he's probably one of the busiest investigators within our agency, because there is a proliferation of social media being used by the criminal element out there. And just for example, if we do a search warrant on one case, we may get tens or hundred thousands of pages of evidence. And it's difficult for one person just on one case to go through that much evidence. So he really has to, at this time, prioritize. That's probably an area in the future where I see we will probably need to add resources and improve resources. Maybe do some realignment of some resources to address that area. Social media is just going to continue to be a big boom, and whereas it was Facebook at one time, now it's just expanded to a lot of different media sources and a lot of different platforms.
On the other side of social media, do you see the department being more or less on social media, Twitter and Facebook, and communicating with people?
You know, that would be a goal. We use Facebook quite a bit in our investigations. We're trying to use Twitter a little more. Obviously, Twitter, you can share a lot of information fairly fast with the public. And I would say the medium that we use right now the most would probably be Facebook, but we really need to be concerned and be aware about the other social media platforms out there. And if there's a platform that we can use to our benefit, we definitely want to look into using that.
You know, police trust is a big issue across the country, maybe a little less in Grand Island, but how do you maintain that trust and kind of shave off that hate towards the police that seems to be coming up?
Yeah, I think with community trust, I talked about trying to develop the collaboration and the relationships within the community, and we need to continue to do that. Obviously, there's going to be some criminal element out there that's not going to be happy with anything that we do. But if we can develop the proper alliances with community leaders and find out what their issues are, find out what their problems are, then that should bode well for us into the future, where we can address their problems, address problems of anyone that comes to us and seeks assistance.
I guess, how does funding play into this? How much experience have you had with the police budget over the years?
You know, I was administrative captain for six to 7 years, and that was a big part of my job, was the budgeting. And over that time frame and since that time frame, I still have some experience with the budget, being the patrol captain, being under the leadership team. But I've seen good budget years and I've seen tight budget years. And either way, we just have to continue to move forward and do our job to the best of our abilities. And if you have a tight budget year, then you really focus on what you have, and the problems and issues that come up, you just address with the manpower you have. And if that means moving resources around to address that, which we've done as of late, and that's what needs to be done.
Yeah, speaking of those lean years, do you see bringing back any of the things that were lost maybe over the years, like the motorcycle brigade? I don't know what you call it, squad.
I don't see motorcycles being brought back anytime soon. There was some limitations to the motorcycles. With our special operations that we do now, we are doing quite a bit more traffic enforcement. Essentially, that was what the motor unit did. They did traffic enforcement, but we can do the same thing with vehicles. I mean, we can have special enforcement in special traffic areas, like 281, for example. We do selective enforcement or special enforcement in that area quite a bit to target that area. Things like Citizens Police Academy, we brought that back. We've had the manpower boost. Fortunately, the City Council is very pro-law enforcement and very pro-public safety. And when the SMA study came out, they were, it's fortunate for us that they added the additional bodies to our department. So we were able to address the issues and address the problems and bring back some of the programs that we feel really fostered our relationship with the community and improved our relationship with the community.
As far as your relationship with us, the media, if we were, for instance, to have a situation or something that was ongoing or an investigation, how vital is it to have that relationship with the media to keep them informed, to keep speculation from happening in the public?
Sure. Hopefully I can say this safely, that we've had a great relationship with the media over the past. And I realize that there's times that we cannot share information. But I think we're usually pretty open to the media. We appreciate the media and the job they do and the information that they can do in sharing what's going on and letting the general public know this is what happened and this is why it happened in this certain way. So, yeah, we have a good relationship with the media, and I'm hoping to still foster that into the future.
Captain, do police officers work 12-hour shifts?
Yes, our patrol officers do work 12-hour shifts.
Do you see that continuing if you're hired?
Yes, we would continue to do that. We essentially have a day shift that works 12-hour shifts, a night shift that works 12-hour shifts, and then we have, out of the ICMA study, we created an overlap shift, what we can consider an overlap shift, and they work a 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift, which is still a 12-hour shift, but we found that we did an analysis of our call load, and that seemed to be, the heavy call load, from about 2 p.m., 3 p.m., clear up till 11 p.m., and sometimes even to 3 a.m. into the weekend. Seemed to be a heavy call load time, and that's why we added the overlap shift.
I think we're good.
Thank you.
All right?